Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about a drama film called Proximity from 2020. Enjoy your viewing. This young man met aliens who visited the Earth, and now he wants to find out why they came. The answer will shock him. The movie is set in 1979 in a small town in southeastern Alaska. A logger named Carl Missner was returning home from work. Suddenly the radio in his car malfunctioned, and the man tried to fix it. Suddenly the car in front of him flew into the air, and then the car plummeted to the ground. Getting out of the car, Carl notices a giant UFO in the sky and in a panic runs to the forest. However, the UFO quickly catches up with the man, and with the help of a bright blue beam lifts his body up. The guy cannot move. The movie takes us to the present day. A young scientist, Isaac Sippers, who works at NASA, checks in with his colleagues. They hear an incomprehensible signal from Canada, but the guys ignore it, thinking it's a prank. But in the evening, Isaac hears a strange signal of unknown origin from the satellite. Meanwhile, the boy is having a hard time dealing with the loss of his father, and in order to cope with his tired state, he is forced to seek help from a therapist. The woman advises Isaac to try keeping a video diary. The boy has to video himself every day and tell his thoughts. This should help him cope with his psychological problems. The young scientist did so, and soon went on a short hike. He took his camera with him to blog about his journey. Suddenly a meteorite falls nearby, and almost immediately, special services arrive at the scene. Isaac gets curious and sneaks past them. Soon he notices a rotating disc of a spaceship in the sky. But as soon as he started filming the UFO, it suddenly disappeared, and a silent humanoid figure appeared behind him. Feeling its presence, Isaac turns around in fear, and then turns on the camera to record everything he sees. As soon as the alien walks away, the boy starts to run away, but suddenly loses consciousness. The next day, Isaac did not go to work. 3 days later, the young scientist wakes up in a completely different place. After watching the camera footage, Isaac comes to the conclusion that he was abducted by aliens. His arm hurts a lot, although there are no visible injuries. When he returns home, he experiences something like hallucinations. His TV is gone, and his fingers seem to have penetrated another dimension. Isaac returns the TV to its place. The next day, he takes an X-ray of his hand. The doctor notices something strange. It looks like his hand was cut with something very thin, at a perfect right angle. In addition, there is no sign of scar tissue on Isaac's arm. Later, Isaac comes to work and demonstrates his newly acquired abilities to a colleague, but later he learns that the objects disappear only in the boy's imagination. Wanting to tell the whole world about his abduction, Isaac uploads the video to the internet. The video quickly becomes popular and gains many views. However, the result disappointed him. Many people didn't believe him and wrote that the video was fake, and the guy just didn't have enough attention. Isaac decides to give a live interview and tell how everything really happened, but the host assumes that his story is pure editing and fake, because the guy works as a computer engineer. As a result, Isaac began to be discussed in the news, on streams, and on social media. The guy was called a liar and a fraud, but he is not going to give up. Isaac finds a blog on the internet by a girl named Sarah. Her story was similar, so Isaac asked her to meet him. While waiting for her, Isaac notices that things around him are moving by themselves, but when Sarah arrives, everything stops. The guy immediately gets down to business. He shows the girl the video from the camera, and then they discuss various references to UFOs. After that, they come to the conclusion that the UFO is real. The girl recalls the story of Carl's kidnapping in 1979, and says that as soon as the man started telling the world his incredible story, the man immediately disappeared. Just in case, the boyfriend and girlfriend exchange phone numbers. Soon Sarah contacts Isaac. She tells him about Carl Missner. The guy decides to try to find his name on the internet, but finds nothing there. Then Sarah informs him that there is no mention of this case on the internet, and she found all the information in an old newspaper. They come to the conclusion that the press deliberately distorts such stories, and mentions of real kidnappings are simply classified. After realizing this, Isaac makes several copies of his video with the alien, and sends it to various people who firmly believe that the existence of aliens is a reality. While he was standing by the mailbox, an independent writer noticed him and offered to post his story on his blog. This way, Isaac could whitewash his reputation and prove to everyone that he was telling the truth. The guy wasn't sure if he should do it, but there seemed to be no other options. When Isaac came to the writer's office, Keith suggested that he take a lie detector test. This way, people will get evidence and will no longer be able to call the guy a liar. Isaac readily agrees and connects the device to himself, and then confidently answers all the questions. But as soon as the test confirmed the truthfulness of his words, Keith silently left the office, and 2 men in black suits came in instead and detained the boy. When the young scientist regained consciousness, he found himself in a secret bunker with 2 androids who tied him to a chair. Sarah was also brought here. Then a man appeared on the monitor and introduced himself as Agent Graves. The man said that he had detained Isaac against his will because he had valuable information for all of humanity. After that, Agent Graves conducts several tests, asking Isaac to concentrate on the objects in front of him. Soon, he demands information about Carl, but Isaac refuses to cooperate, and after fighting off the androids, the boy escapes. He manages to free Sarah from the next room. The robots open fire on them, but the fugitives manage to escape through a door that Isaac opened with his mind. Graves immediately sends people to search for them. He hopes that the fugitives will lead him to Carl. After getting out, the boy and the girl find out that they are in Costa Rica. They run to the nearest town. They definitely need to get in touch with this mysterious Carl to figure it all out. A local girl in a bar gives them the address of someone who might be able to help them. In a small bar, Isaac and Sarah meet a hacker named Zed and ask him to help them find information about Carl. However, the suddenly appeared Grayson's androids do not allow them to talk in peace, so Zed leads the boy and girl to a secret hideout in the forest. The hideout is protected from satellite surveillance. Along the way, he tells them about a top-secret organization. This agency works for the United Nations and is an international space program. The guy asks what Isaac has done to attract such attention. Isaac doesn't know, so he wants to find Carl in order to get answers. Soon, Zed gets to work and finds a lonely house in the middle of the forest with the help of a satellite. The Wi-Fi signal was strong enough that he was able to set up a video chat. A gray-haired old man surrounded by many devices took the call, but when he heard his name, Carl Mister, he immediately dropped the call. Isaac makes one more attempt to contact him, and quickly tells him about the aliens, his abduction by the agency that is chasing him, and the alien feedback Isaac received while working. Hearing this, Carl asks the boy to immediately send him this signal. Zed hacks into the satellite and sends the file to Carl. After receiving it, the man keeps it for himself and decodes the alien signal into audio format. It turns out that the aliens will arrive on Earth at a certain place in 5 days. Carl warned Isaac that the agency will not rest until they find him. He needs to hide. After that, Carl immediately disconnects from the call. The young scientist is convinced that they need to meet Carl, and when the aliens arrive, he and Sarah must be there too. This is their only chance to figure everything out. However, the girl is afraid to see the aliens again, and Isaac convinces her that everything will be fine. Zed also goes with them to Canada, and takes care of all the organizational aspects of their trip. All this time, Agent Graves was following them. As soon as the boys crossed the ocean, he sent his agents and androids to get to Carl. The friends board the train, but Graves' android soon catches up with them. Zed asks everyone to put on masks, because the robots use facial recognition to identify targets, and masks can confuse them. As one of the robots approached Isaac, it began to stare at him intently, and then opened fire. Isaac and Sarah climbed onto the roof of the train. They managed to throw one of the androids off the train, and Zed dealt with the other. Later, Zed makes a deal with a man, and he drives everyone directly to Carl's house in the woods. When Carl saw them outside his house, he ran out with a gun in his hand, but Isaac reminded him of himself. Then Carl asked if they were deactivated, but the boy did not understand what he was talking about. Then Carl grabbed a device in the house and turned off the tracking device implanted in Sarah and Isaac's arms. Later, after settling into the house, Carl told them his story of abduction, as well as how he escaped from the agency and hid from them. He needed to find a way to make contact, and so Carl bought equipment and learned to decode the alien signals into human language. Isaac was shocked because this man was communicating with aliens, and the aliens would arrive in 2 days. The waiting time flew by almost unnoticed. Isaac confessed to Sarah that even if everything that happened did not make sense, he was still glad to have met her. On the appointed day, everyone was waiting. Suddenly, Carl's house shook, and the man said that the aliens were close. Hearing this, Isaac ran to the forest, where he soon met the humanoid. This time, fear was overcome, and they made contact with the aliens. With the help of Carl's decoder, they were able to get answers to their questions. The aliens said that they, like humans, want to know how the universe was formed, so they study everything they can, including people. Then the alien shows Isaac the image of God and asks him who he is. Sarah interrupts the conversation, asking why their hands hurt after being abducted. The aliens put a device on her arm, which painlessly separates it into 2 parts. Inside was an implant that the aliens had installed for their own records. Now it can be removed, and Isaac prepares to remove the tracking device as well. But suddenly, Agent Graves arrives at the house with his men. He orders Carl to leave the house immediately. He wants to know what happened to his father, Ronald Graves, who was riding in the first car before the kidnapping back in 1979. But Carl has no information. Graves does not believe him, because Carl is the only one who did not pass the test. He gives the order to shoot the former lumberjack. Sarah runs out of the house to help the wounded old man, but the secret agents shoot her and then open fire on the house. Isaac starts to get very worried and rushes the aliens to reattach his arm. But the alien encouraged the boy to use his senses and focus. Isaac did so, and time began to slow down around him. Thanks to his new abilities, he brought all his friends to a safe place. There, the aliens helped Sarah and Carl. Then they all passed by the secret agents completely invisible and left the territory on the aliens' flying saucer. Graves was in awe of what had happened. 6 months later, somewhere in the forests of Costa Rica, Isaac and Sarah are living a normal life, falling deeply in love with each other. Carl is working for his new underground technical intelligence agency. Agent Graves is fired from his job. This is where the movie ends. If you have watched the video so far, you should know that I am happy to have viewers like you. Thank you for watching to the end. Subscribe to the channel and follow the news. Klontsak Recapped was with you. See you soon.